Slept on Cinema is sponsored by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know someone who's struggling with shoe tying for any reason, Training Ties is the perfect solution.
Pain and Gain weighs about 700 pounds when it ought to weigh 2.
Adds up to more pain than gain.
Goodfellas for dummies.
Fargo for jerks.
Registers with all the smoothness of a lumpy protein shake going down a sore throat.
The Three Stooges for sociopathic meatheads.
Bad Boys on roids, and that's not a good thing.
At least when Moe hit Curly in the head with a hammer, it wasn't the recreation of a real crime.
Welcome to this week's episode of Slept on Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
And I'm Grove Street.
This week we're getting into the 2013 true crime action thriller. I don't know what this is exactly. It's a little bit of everything.
I think it's called a black comedy somehow.
Black comedy? Sure. I wouldn't disagree with that. Pain and Gain, which is another one of these movies. I saw this long before I looked at it up on Rotten Tomatoes. Absolutely floored that we're able to review this. And especially now, this is our 50th episode. So congrats to us. Congrats to all the listeners. As we mentioned in our last episode, we tried to find a little gimmick and get something that was exactly 50 for critics and audiences. Couldn't find something that fit the bill that was the right fit for us. So this one is exactly 50 for critics, which I do feel like people mostly think of as the Rotten Tomatoes score. So right on the nose, 50 for the 50th episode. Just so excited that this is available for us, because when I saw this movie, the movie's awesome. And it didn't even occur to me that it would qualify.
Yeah, I think this movie did pretty well too. So I just knew it as a very popular movie that everyone enjoyed. Apparently people didn't.
Don't get it.
Don't get it.
This movie, as all the movies we review, are at or below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audiences. And the podcast is structured so that the first half of the episode is spoiler-free. Talk about some things to look for in the film, take a break, go watch the movie, come back, and talk about what we just saw.
Rotten premise. Danny Lupo, manager of the Sun Gym in the 1990s Miami, decides that there is only one way to achieve his version of the American dream, extortion. To achieve his goal, he recruits muscle men Paul and Adrian as accomplices. After several failed attempts, they abduct rich businessman Victor Kershaw and convince him to sign over all of his assets to them. But when Kershaw makes it out alive, authorities are reluctant to believe his story. Critics, 50%. Audience, very, very close at 47%. Almost got to 50-50.
So close. And I feel like this is one of these movies. The scores on these films do change over time. And I don't know if this just came out a little too soon or what, but the cast is amazing. It's a great film. I could see this creeping up over time.
I totally agree. This was 2013. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 2013. So I see, I bet a year from now, this does not qualify.
And I feel like all these stars are still getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Totally. These are some of the biggest stars we have.
Yep.
So opened number 1, April 26, 2013, took in $20.2 million its opening weekend. So nice to be back on top. Ended up coming in at $88.3 million worldwide on just a $26 million budget. And we talked about this just a minute ago with the cast in this movie. If you had to recreate this cast now, this movie does not cost $26 million. I don't even think you're getting The Rock alone or Wahlberg alone for $26 million. So I don't know how they managed to make this on a $26 million budget. I guess they caught everyone in this at just the right time in their careers, because the cast is astounding. I don't know.
From what I heard, the Rock, Wahlberg, Bay, and I'm not sure who else decided to take points on the end instead of getting paid in order to squeeze in the budget.
Makes sense. I mean, that's how else could you get a cast like that?
Couldn't. And I'm not sure they would do it again, because I don't think they got the points they wanted.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this, I think, in the context of one of our Blumhouse movies, that the math, it's not real math. It's just like pretend math, where even movies that are wildly profitable are somehow money losers, so that nobody actually makes any money, which is a shame, because this movie should have made a lot of people a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure somebody made a lot of money on it, just Not the right people? I'm not sure how that works.
Not the people who it's about, not the people who are in it, not the people who made it, but somehow someone made
someone. Yes, the shareholders.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to get into too much background other than, and this is, bodybuilding is a big piece of this movie. And I feel like we have to go in with a little bit of background on both Wahlberg and The Rock's training habits, because they're legendary. I'd say probably for our current stars, these are probably, if you think of fitness, it's probably these two guys. So Wahlberg is known for his early workouts. I looked this up. His typical routine, he wakes up at 2:30 in the morning.
It's ridiculous.
That's insane. But that's a man who's driven. And you can see that. It comes through in the character here. I feel like it hits a little close to home in some of this. But he gets up at 2:30 in the morning. His first workout's at 3:40. He has another workout in the afternoon at 4. He's in bed by 7:30. So summertime, it's still light out. If he had little kids, he's probably putting himself to bed before the kids.
Might be a good strategy as a dad.
I'm starting to think that this actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Big protein guy. I feel like you got to be a big protein guy. He eats 2 breakfasts. People do say breakfast is the most important meal. So his second breakfast is typically a protein shake and 3 turkey burgers.
Good Lord, what time in the morning?
This is got to be like 4 or 5 in the morning. His second breakfast. So protein shake and 3 turkey burgers. Also a big cryotherapy guy. So he's big on the cold healing. The Rock, also obviously huge fitness guy. And I feel like he went kind of viral for how much cod he eats a few years ago. There's some article, maybe it was Rolling Stone, I forget where, that went into just how much cod the man eats in any given year. And it was an astronomical number, saying that he typically eats 2.3 pounds of cod per day and 12 eggs per day, and totals around 10 pounds of food every single day. He's since cut down on cod a little bit. He was concerned about the overfishing problem with cod, so he's cut down on the cod. He still has some, but he mostly does now chicken, buffalo, salmon, and then still a little bit of cod. Not as much of a cod guy, but still gets a lot of animal protein in there.
Since this change in diet, has the rise in cod levels gone up around the earth?
I mean, you would think it has to be, just based off the amount of cod this man was consuming.
Yeah.
So single-handedly bringing cod back. And he crushes 6,000 calories a day.
It's another job.
Yeah, right. I mean, both of these guys are eating constantly just because they're just their muscles. You got to feed the beast. So for all those aspiring muscle builders, keep eating. I feel like that's kind of all you need. It's one of those. One of those movies.
That's one of the best infos we've had, because just learning about his their habits is insane.
Oh, yeah.
How do they get so big?
Oh yeah,
The Rock in this is ginormous. I heard he was close to. I think he wrestled at around 240. They said when he was announced, and he hit around 300 for this role because they wanted to make him look as big as possible. And
he nailed it. He looks great. He's huge.
Yeah, massive.
Very
massive. Even The Rock.
No, yeah, right, exactly. When you're bigger, when you're like the Big Rock, it's another level. Like he could, like, I don't know, pound me into the ground and not even notice.
Yeah, he'd be a little. Yeah, he wouldn't even notice. Just a little.
If we're on a seesaw, like I would sit on the other end and it wouldn't even jiggle.
Nope. All right, want to get to Bolo's?
Let's do it.
I'm going to say Bolo Adidas sweatpants that I owned.
Oh, nice. In 2013?
I think I still have them. I was a phys ed teacher for a long time.
I'm wearing them right now.
I had them on earlier today. Yeah. When you're doing the sit-ups, those ones.
Nice. This maybe is just an obvious one, but Bolo muscles.
Yep.
You'll see them.
Bolo Alugi.
I'm going to follow my muscles up with Bolo muscle juice.
Bolo 2 fake Lowensteins. Remember, Prince of Tides was a pretty big movie in 1991. Supposedly set in 1995.
That's a good one. I will go. This is one of our favorites when we just had some great slow-mo recently. So Bolo slow-mo and Bolo even slower mo.
Oh, nice. Love mixing up the mo's. Bolo, this can be either really comfortable or really just kind of a rude thing to do, but bolo, people putting their feet up on desks.
Yeah.
A lot of one high leg, one on the ground.
I'm going to say bolo is some just absolutely brilliant marketing.
So
I
good.
feel like people in business school should take note of some of the marketing techniques they have here.
Bolo platitudes.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say bolo, a lawnmower. We've had some great lawnmowers in a lot of our films for some reason. I don't know if we're a lawnmower podcast. We probably are at this point. But bolo and a really nice lawnmower.
Some lawnmowers we've had drive themselves, but in this one, they're driven by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Bolo, moving a turned off car accidentally.
Yep. Bolo Jesus apparel.
Nice. Bolo, Dan Marino jersey.
It's hot at the time.
Yep.
Bolo, a really sad pool.
Bolo, grilling tips.
Nice. Bolo, the can-do spirit.
Bolo, cologne.
I'm going to go bolo dichotomies. Quite a few of those thrown around.
Bolo, jorts.
And this is another reference to one of our other movies, but Bolo Scooby-Doo.
Bolo, a husband doing a bad job cleaning up before his wife gets home.
Mm-hmm.
All been there. And you think do such a good job. Maybe not.
It also very much reminds me of Pulp Fiction. That's
yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
Has to be a homage. Bolo, some adult toys.
Some of those.
Used to great effect.
Bolo fanny packs.
Mm-hmm. Right back in fashion. Bolo bonsai trees.
Yes. I've considered getting into bonsai tree cutting maybe 12 times in my life.
Oh, like all the time. I think I think I have a book and someone got me a kit. It's a lot of work. And it's like, I don't think it's one of the, it's like buying a parrot. Like you're committing to an entire life of.
Yeah. You forget about how much of a commitment it is. You're like, oh, that'll help me practice patience, right? No. It takes Bolo, a toe.
Yes. And hopefully not at the same time, but Bolo tacos.
Bolo, this came up because I watched it a third time with my mother-in-law in the room. Bolo, the F word.
I'm going to go Bolo, a notary. I think this might be our first notary.
Yeah. Hopefully not our last.
Hopefully not.
Bolo, green dye.
There's my last Bolo here, and this one's a pretty obvious one. Bolo weights.
I'll go Bolo, patriotism.
Some great lines on America throughout this film.
All right, I'm excited to get to this movie, but also excited to hear what you have as your drink to pair with this movie.
I mean, I feel like it's got two elements, a little bit on the nose, but sometimes movies call for that, and this is one of them. So it feels obvious, but mix yourself up a real good protein shake. And a little twist, I'm going to say throw in a dash of Crown Royal.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I specifically selected that because I think it's one of those liquors that looks a lot fancier than it actually is. Like, that is not an expensive drink, but it comes in that fancy bottle. It comes in a little bag.
Brandy's Crown Royal isn't expensive?
I think it's like $30 for a bottle of Crown Royal.
Wow, the commercials are very elegant to make me think
that's the whole thing. It's sort of like cheap but looks fancy, and I think that's just kind of fitting for this. So get your protein shake, get whatever flavor you want, so you make sure you get your protein, and give yourself a little splash of that Crown Royal. You go perfect.
That is perfect. Sip on that throughout the movie. Nice stomach ache.
Maybe do some push-up.
is a fictional drink from another show. I think this would be the perfect movie if Fight Milk from Always Sunny existed. This would be the movie to drink it while watching. But it doesn't exist because we're not going to eat crow eggs. But there is a similar drink that is called the New York Flip, which contains bourbon, tawny port, heavy cream, simple syrup, an egg yolk, and freshly grated nutmeg or cinnamon for garnish, and served with ice in a cocktail glass. So it'll feel like you're having. It'll feel like you're having a protein shake. You'll have the egg in there, and you'll get
the egg. That basically is that's an old school protein shake right there.
And we're talking about the 90s when people are still housing 13, raw eggs before they go to work.
Yeah, have you ever done that?
No,
I never have either, and I'd like to. I feel like I need to try it. I feel like it used to be a thing. I've never done it.
We should have done it on this podcast.
We'll have to find a movie where they drink raw eggs, because I'm sure that there's one on our list where they do that.
The next time there's a movie that they drink raw eggs, I agree. We'll do it on
we will do that 100%.
All right, let's try to avoid a movie that has that. Huh?
It's like the episode where the guys get botulism, or is it salmonella?
No, we get sick.
We get both.
All right, this is awesome. You guys are going to enjoy this and can't wait to talk about it on the other side.
Yeah, enjoy.
Enjoy.
My name is Daniel Lugo, and I believe in fitness. All this began because it was time to push myself harder.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Otherwise, I was looking at another 40 years of wearing sweatpants to work.
Mr. Doble, are you currently using steroids?
You ever just get tired of being where you are, Adrian?
No, I kind of like it here. I mean, the weight's are new to me.
I mean in life, man. When's the last time you paid your rent when it was due?
I got a plan to change that. Where'd you do your time, pal?
Up north.
Are you fixed for a job now?
You just can't kidnap a guy and take his things. That's so illegal.
Sure we can.
Victor Kershaw is a criminal prick who deserves bad stuff to happen to him. We grab him, signs a few signatures, we give him a protein shake. You don't even know what happened. I watched a lot of movies, Paul. I know what I'm doing.
The Sun Gym gang has successfully acquired every asset you had.
What happens now?
Now I go to work.
You said no violence.
And I meant it when I said it, I swear to God.
I cannot kill.
Duly noted. Look, when this is over, we'll all go camping, all right?
Okay.
Slept On Cinema is brought to you by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know anyone who's struggling with shoe tying, Training Ties is the perfect solution. Or if you know anyone who just doesn't like tying their shoes, Training Ties keep shoes tied all day long. Say no to Velcro and yes to independence with Training Ties.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Awesome as always. Still just absolutely cannot believe that this qualifies. I don't even know what made me think to look this up, because I would have expected it was like 80, 90.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I know I'm an idiot, but it's Michael Bay. I love Michael. I'll watch anything Michael Bay.
Right.
I did a Michael Bay movie on this. This is incredible.
Right. Michael Bay, some of the biggest stars we have, and then rounding out the rest of the cast, it's like they spared no expense. Even every single supporting character is an amazing and usually hilarious actor.
Yeah. Let's get right into it, because I think there's a lot of draft picks here. What's your first pick in the draft for Pain and Gain?
My first pick is just the concept or the idea of just based on a true story. I think especially for a film like this, where it is just so batshit just throughout the whole thing, when you say it's based on a true story, it gives you such freedom to make things insane, because you're like, well, this happened. This is, or at least, based on a true story. It lets you just get away with whatever you want. And I feel like you get so much more buy-in from the audience. I feel like that's probably not a whole lot of our listeners, but a lot of other people who watch movies, whenever they're watching something like, oh, that's ridiculous, that'll never happen. When you just say based on a true story at the beginning of that, you wipe all of that off the table. And you're like, well, yeah, this more or less happened. And you get an awesome story like this.
the Conjuring movies have say based on a true story because they
Mhm.
are. I mean, they did exist. So my wife is like, well, it says she kind of believes in the supernatural. She's like, it says based on a true story. I'm like, right, but that's not saying the ghosts are real. That's saying that the Warrens were real. It's different. But what they did is up for debate. And this movie does take a lot of liberties too. In the
but
story.
and that's what you want. I mean, it to some extent, I feel like we've probably talked about this before, but there's an element of storytelling where it's story truth, right? Like you want to make people feel something, and that feeling is kind of the most real part. And to get people to feel something through a movie who weren't living it, you have to make it more extreme in order to get people to feel the real feelings. So in many ways, I would say the more extreme version of what happened is realer from a story perspective.
Yeah, and if this movie wasn't made extreme, people wouldn't even know of those crimes
Totally.
that even happened.
Yeah. So that's my pick. I love that as a tool in movies, and I feel like you end up with things like this that are just awesome.
I think when we make our movie, it's going to be based on a true story. We're going to find
100%.
some snippet of an article somewhere. We can get what we do to be based on a true story. Doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much. Just that kernel.
I would love to know the baseline. Like someone does like the Poltergeist and says, no, based on a true story. And what Hollywood says, no. Who's the fact checker to not say based on it? I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it, right? They said based on a true story. It was not lied. So you just lie.
I mean, they didn't say which part was based on a true story.
Texas
Probably
exists.
some. Yes, Texas exists. There are chainsaws.
And there's many massacres.
Sure. I'm sure at least one happened with a chainsaw.
Yes, based on a true story. It's a great tool. I'm glad you picked that, and I'm glad I got mine. We talked about it a little bit in the intro to this half. The cast. I got to take the cast.
Oh,
I was watching with my wife and my mother-in-law, and Anthony Mackie popped on the scene, and she was just like, wow. After seeing like Wahlberg and The Rock, and then you see Mackie, it's like, wow, this is a real movie. But some of the other people in this, I mean, I'm a big Cars movie guy because of my son. So Tony Shalhoub, who plays Luigi or Monk, is in this. And then we have...
I mean, he's incredibly famous and incredibly talented. And they got him. He's so good.
He's so, like, he nails that character so well he's like despicable and you don't want to help him, but also you kind of feel bad for him too.
And I feel like especially with him, like the Monk character is such a iconic character that I feel like he ran the risk of being sort of typecast as that character, and you just like think of him as that character. And what he does with the character here is so like crystal clear, perfect, that it wipes all of that right off the screen. Like he is this person. It's like I almost didn't even think of it as Tony Shalhoub. I just thought it was this character.
I did not see Monk. None of it. We also have one of my favorite actors, Rob Corddry.
Oh yeah. I know you're a big Hot Tub Time Machine guy, so
yeah, exactly. So he's the one who's so excited about the guy losing the arm at some point during the time machine trip, and I was too. So we were both aligned. One that was going to happen. He's one of my favorites at that. We got Rebel Wilson, Ken Jeong, Bar Paley. What else do we have here? Just a whole like Kurt Angle is in this. Just everyone seems to be a someone, and very not just that guy. They're really, really popular and very talented actors and actresses just playing bit roles in this for such a low budget.
Yeah, I mean, my sense, and you can sort of feel this, is that people had just a great time shooting this film. And it was such a great collection of people that I think you get that sort of critical mass of so-and-so's working on this project, so-and-so's working on this project. It's like, oh, well, I got to do that. Those guys are awesome. I want to be a part of this. And you could just tell that everyone was really into this project.
It did seem like they were having fun. Like we got Mackie, Wahlberg, and The Rock. You want to come on? Yes, of course.
Right, yeah.
And Michael Bay.
Yeah. You're like wherever you were standing is that cartoon ghost outline, and you're gone to wherever they're shooting. Do you think that... this is The Rock's best performance all time?
He plays his role so well. It's such a weird role.
And to me, this is my favorite Rock performance of all time. And he's had some good ones, but I think it's brilliant.
He's so hilarious in this.
He's so good. He's so good in a kind of edgy way that I feel like is lost in some of his other performances that is so perfect. It's like edgy, but also the like the Jesus angle, the sort of, it's edgy, but he has that like rock twinge of goodness that he can't shake. That just he plays off of it absolutely perfectly.
I almost picked him as his own pick from the cast because it was just like, it stood out to show like, wow, this is why The Rock is who he is now. He's a real actor. It's not just like a big guy who used to wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, Wahlberg is also, it's an excellent performance, and he's had a number, I think, of just really top notch performances. Like he's one of our best actors we have right now.
Have we had Wahlberg on? Have we had a Wahlberg movie on this podcast?
No, this is our first one.
Wow, first Mackie, Rock, and Wahlberg movie.
Yeah, so I feel like Wahlberg gets some due, but definitely not as much as he should for the caliber of actor that he is. But I think The Rock matched him, shot for shot in this movie.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. My second pick, I'm really excited about. I like at the end of the movie when they were all taken down at the same time, so they had no time to react and call each other and come up with a So simultaneous takedowns in movies. Maybe climbing is one of my favorite things in movies. So some examples: The Godfather, all that happened at the same time, so they have no chance to react. We have The Untouchables. Elliot Ness took down Al Capone's legal brewing operations. Sicario, The Bourne Ultimatum, Skyfall, and to end it on this list, The Italian Job with Wahlberg. I just love when we can't do it in order. We have to do it all at once because if they catch on, we have no chance of success. So it has to be all in sync to happen at the same time. It happens in the Fast and Furious movies a bunch too.
Would you say that this has overtaken the getting the gang together part of a movie for you?
No. I can't go that far. There's nothing better than that. But
it's basically the opposite.
Yeah, it is basically the opposite. But I can't do it.
Yeah, but they're both great. I think I'm with you too. There's nothing better than a getting the gang together montage.
Yeah, I could have a whole movie. That's what it's called, getting the gang together, and then
let's get them together and then take them all down.
Yeah. Maybe just a climb movie. No fall. Just get the gang together and then they're all together and they win. Done.
That's a great pick. I like that a lot. So my second pick, and this is maybe going to come as no surprise. Maybe it is a surprise because we just talked about The Rock so much. I'm going with another Rock adjacent pick. I'm going with specifically The Rock's monologue at the motel when they are talking to the motel clerk. The lines The Rock delivers as part of that they're my favorite lines in the entire film. Talking about how great he had great memories of this place, and that this was the very first time he bashed someone's head in, and then goes on, that bat was aluminum. I've since switched to wood. It's just like the way he delivers this line is so absolutely perfect. It cracks me. I watch it over and over and over again. It encapsulates The Rock's brilliant performance in the entire film perfectly in that one. It's maybe only like a 30-second scene, but I thought that was an absolutely perfect scene. So I'm taking that my second pick.
It's part of what he did so well in this movie. Like, he's supposed to be sort of dim and obviously has a drug past, but sometimes he just comes up with these great lies. He did it with the we're going to have the music video in the club. He came up with that lie. They came up with the band when they were looking for guns. He just came up with that. And the motel, it was just, he was dim, but he was also right there too. He just played the character.
Oh, yeah. My third pick, I'm going to take the opening, a part of the opening scene, and the specific part about when Wahlberg is describing the United States, and this was a Bolo feature of yours, but I loved how he described it. The sort of the United States started out as 13 scrawny colonies, and then goes into how they got, they all worked out and got jacked, and now they're the greatest country on earth. And it's one of these things that, I love movies that get you right into the feeling of the movie. And I think that little description, you learn exactly who this character is right off the bat. You learn like what's important to him. You learn sort of his worldview. You learn how he thinks about things. I think it was a very simple couple lines, but you kind of got everything you needed to know about this character right off the bat, and it was just done perfectly.
And you learn about you learn a lot from when he says who his heroes are too. It's like from movies. You know the guy right away just from those lines.
Yeah, that's a great point. The heroes lines also is a fantastic part of that, especially for this type of podcast. It's sort of like, oh yeah, all his heroes are the people that we like to watch on screen.
And he's not wrong. For a lot of people, we have the Scarface and the Godfather, and those are the heroes for many, many people.
Yeah, I feel like he's just more honest about it.
Yeah, right. That was your third pick?
Yep.
My third pick, I'm going to take how everyone got their little background perspective flashback in their own voice. I thought that was a really cool trick. Especially when Wahlberg was coming up with the first plan, and The Rock was like, I don't know how he comes up with all of this. This is very good. And then they go into The Rock's backstory of like what he has going on in his life with the guy at the church, and he beats him up. He didn't know why the guy was calling him so buff. And his whole thing. Then they had Mackie's character. I think they had Mackie's character talk about how he knows that Wahlberg doesn't know what he's doing, but he doesn't really care anyway. He needs some money. And then they have the stripper's perspective, and just everyone gets their own little like view. And I think that's a cool trick to just get a little bit of insight into the character's perspective from their own head, since it was in Wahlberg's head the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, because it's true. It's one of these movies where you wouldn't necessarily think that you get to know so much about the characters, but you really do at all up and down the line. Like you really learn about like these characters in depth, and some of it is from these sort of simple things that they do like that.
Sleeper pick. I listen to sometimes other podcasts about the movies we do before we do it, just to like see what other people are thinking or whatever. And I heard one podcast say they didn't like this because it was too in your face. I don't know. They had a problem with it. And I love this. The face taser when they got Victor, the slow-mo, a taser to the face, and then that phlegm comes flying out in that slow-mo, and the great color.
Great slow-mo use.
It was just the best. And they weren't even sure if it was going to work out that time because they had blundered it, that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, whack, right to his, I was dying.
I can't imagine somebody having a problem with that. That was like a perfect little moment.
I don't know how you could have a problem with that. That was beautiful.
That's a great pick. My sleeper pick, I feel like I have a couple things here, but I'm going to take, I don't know what the word for this is, but it's sort of like the machinery or the apparatuses in a dry cleaners. Like all the conveyor belts that carry clothes around. I love those things. There's some great shots of those. And I never totally understand why they go up and down so much, or like it makes me think when you go into a dry cleaners that they have this giant underground layer that's just full of conveyor belts of clothes that dip down like 6 layers deep into the earth. It never totally makes sense, but it is always fascinating to watch. And they had some great ones in here. So taking the dry cleaner machinery.
Yeah, I wonder if does anyone know anything about that machinery besides dry cleaners? I don't think anyone knows.
No, where does that stuff go? Why is it only dry cleaners that have that? I mean, it seems like a great system because they can always get your clothes really quickly. I don't know why they don't deploy that everywhere.
If, as a kid, when you were waiting in line for like your parents to get their stuff, and you could just like follow and see if you could see that jacket to come back around them, but it takes so long. It seems like it goes on forever.
And sometimes they operate it with a little foot pedal if they're really advanced. There's so many things.
And some of them are so much better than others at working. And that's really a cool skill to see somebody be good at.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like we don't see these in movies enough. So I'm always love to see that on the big screen. We
definitely didn't see it used like this, too. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, I hate you. I have an anti-pick.
Oh, let's hear it.
I didn't like him destroying the grill. I don't understand. He burned the papers. Everything's fine. And then he just destroys the grill with a shovel. What's the...
Yeah, there's no need for that.
It's just... maybe that's roids. It makes sense now.
He couldn't control himself.
Yeah, he was just angry.
But it is a shame to destroy a nice piece of equipment.
Yeah. What's our superlative for this week?
Our superlative this week, I feel like I don't have a great little pithy way of describing it, but it is sort of the most inept criminal act. And there are plenty to choose from.
Yeah, we should definitely go over a couple honorable mentions after we pick our two. Do you want me to go first or you?
Sure. Let's hear it.
Let's see. I'll go with, I got to say, just not killing Victor. Just trying to kill him 3 or 4 different ways, getting him hammered. The whole process, the elaborate scheme. Like, it starts with a great broad scheme, like a great idea of a scheme of like, let's get him drunk and make it seem like he did it to himself. Great, awesome. Liquor him up, smash him into a wall. Oh, he doesn't die. All right, let's blow him up. Ah, crap, that doesn't work. And it just keeps devolving into like, let's run him over. Oh, now let's run over his head. And it's just
it's like more and more like baser and baser ways of doing it too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you like him, don't make him suffer. And like, all he's doing is suffering.
Yeah. I feel like I toyed with one particular element of that, those efforts, which I'll get to in a minute. And then also the accidental death of the potential business partner at the end. And it was sort of like, it's really tough to pick something other than when you accidentally kill someone that you didn't intend to. But yet I am not choosing that. And I'm going specifically in the same section that you just picked, when they put Victor, when they put his seatbelt on. I thought, you are trying to kill this man, and yet you just can't put 2 and 2 together. So you put the man's seatbelt on, and then likely because of that, he survives the first attempt at killing him. So I thought that specific element of the attempted murder was just perfect. And
yeah, that's a great. Both from the same scene, but there's a lot of levels in that scene.
Yeah.
Some ones I almost chose, but I thought it was hilarious that Lugo had the same cologne on, even though he knew that guy had already mentioned that he didn't like cologne, so it was pretty obvious. I guess in real life, he recognized his voice, not his cologne. And I think the first attempt at kidnapping Victor at his home on Shabbat, I thought was hilarious. Yeah. They're ready to go, and you're not sure what type of movie this is yet, if they're going to get him right away or what. And then they just run away screaming like, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go back to jail. It's so funny as you're like, oh, we might have a few more of these scenes where they don't actually get them.
Yep. Yeah. And the attempt to pick him up in the car, like that's, if you can't just open the door and grab somebody, like that's the simplest thing possible. Right. And they love that pretty hard. So many good things. I mean, I guess in some ways that's the entire film is just their ineptness, but some great choices.
In one of our newer categories, bumper sticker.
Yes. So this category, as for an explanation, since it is one of our newer ones, sort of lines from the movie that would just be a perfect bumper sticker. And I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that this is our most bumper sticker worthy movie we've had by a long shot. I mean, I was just jotting some ideas down. I just kept going and going and going. So I was like, every single line is basically a bumper sticker. It's amazing. The dialogue here was brilliant.
I've written down this movie is a bumper sticker.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. It's exactly right. So I feel like I have a pick, but then just a ton of honorable mentions too.
All right, I have one written down I chose, so I'll go first just because I don't have any backups.
Let's hear it.
I just love this line. I feel like I look great.
Oh yeah, I love that line so much. I really want to use it a lot, but it's really tough to think of the right circumstance.
I think you'd have to go out with some friends and stay out a little late and come back clearly too drunk and maybe like you spilled a sausage on you or something, and maybe you like fell down and you have a scuff on your arm and you come in and your wife's just there being like, what happened? You look awful. And you go, I feel like I look great because you're drunk.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely the prototypical use case. And I feel like it would be fantastic and also go over horribly, which is the point of a line like that. And I feel like you could even also flip it on its head. Like someone says, oh, like, you look great. You'd be like, I feel like I look great.
Yeah, instead of saying thank you, you're like, yeah, I feel like I look great.
Yeah.
Hard to match my feeling with your view. Yeah.
I like that one so much. I feel like that one, I've been, I watched this movie a number of times. That's not my pick, but that line has stuck with me the most over the last several days after watching that. Like, that has run through my head a number of times since.
There's been multiple times where I'm just like doing dishes and I just start giggling because it's
Yes.
hilarious.
Yeah. So probably in reality, I think I wrote down my pick. If I re-chose now, I might pick that just because of how I feel like that is the lingering line that will stick with me from this movie. Like, I will be mentioning that line for years, and then hopefully once somebody will recognize it as a quotation from Pain and Gain. But that's a great pick. That I think is the pick. But my pick was a little bit biased towards our podcast itself, and it was, I've watched a lot of movies. I know what I'm doing. I feel like you throw that on the back of your like zippy little car or whatever it is, and you can do whatever you want.
You can fly around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the driving version of like what I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was a great line. I feel like I look great is the winner, but for a podcast about movies, I feel like you also can't go wrong with I've watched a lot of movies. I know what I'm doing.
I almost took because of my connection to this quote, and I thought I had this thought in my prior career before I retired as a elementary school phys ed teacher, so it resonates with me. Otherwise, I'm looking at 40 more years wearing sweatpants. So I had to quit being a phys ed teacher. I didn't like the idea of that. Quit, move across the country, and I don't want to be wearing sweatpants anymore at work.
Yeah, that was a great line, and it was also one of those things that just it really set the mind, like it let you in on the mindset of the character in a really great way.
Right.
It's another one of those lines. I really liked Wahlberg's line, and this would be a great thing to throw in your like midlife crisis sports car. I'll be your stepfather by the weekend.
I love that line.
It's so good. I mean, you have to have just like some extreme, just like jerk, like asshole car, and you put that on the back end. It's just perfect fit. I liked I'm a doer.
Yeah, I'm a doer.
I could see people having that.
It's great. On the 90s infomercial of like self-help stuff.
Oh,
yeah. With that. I'm a doer,
Yep.
not a doer.
Mm-hmm. This one stuck with me. I'm not exactly sure why. I read a lot of biographies.
That does make you think that they're smart.
Right.
I got one more. Whenever my wife asks if I want this, I'm going to say no and say, if she asks if I want a salad, I'll say, do you know who invented salad? Poor people.
Yeah, that was a classic line as well. I feel like the only other one I have is, and this is sort of a counterpoint to the number of Jesus-related bumper stickers that are currently on the road. Let's just hope Jesus is as forgiving as they say.
And then The Rock right afterwards goes, oh, he is.
Yeah. I feel like you put that on your car and then you're just like cutting everybody off.
Yeah, so I can cut you off. I'll just pray about it later and I'll be good.
Right.
One change to be a blockbuster. I struggle with this one. I guess a lot of the pushback was because the people originally involved didn't even know it was happening. They weren't even like a part of it. And it kind of took like a light view and approach to something that was really horrific for them. So I think there might have been a little pushback from that. I'm not sure if it affected the sales. I don't know, but
I don't know. I mean, I can see that, right? Like it's obviously not a good look. You probably don't appreciate the like comedic elements of this, which is clearly the whole point of the film. But
real people died.
Right.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, I think mine was, and this comes up a lot. I do feel like, especially for a movie like this, you trim a little bit of time. Like I do feel the second half lagged a little bit. It's not exactly obvious to me where you trim from, but it's probably post getting all the money. You kind of, a lot of the scenes are funny and entertaining, but you could probably trim some of the like them spending all their money and living in these fancy places and cut a little bit of that, trim it down, get it under 2 hours. I think you have a little bit of a tighter film.
I mean, that's definitely an answer. I think we should definitely add a category going forward of Is the time good? Like thumbs up or thumbs down? Because a lot of these movies, I think the reason why they didn't do well was the timing. And 2 hours and 10 minutes for this type of movie is a lot.
Yeah,
When
it's
they
a
hit
little much.
it was 45 minutes in, I think, when Victor was returned safely, and you're like, wow, where was
Yeah.
this going now? And there's another hour and a half basically left. Spin-offs, what do you got?
So this is another one that, for all those listeners that have connections in the industry or just waiting for that good idea, I think this is one of those good ideas. We've had a few on this podcast, and I can't believe this does not exist. This is not just an idea for a spinoff. This is an idea for a genre.
Whoa.
Yeah. So get ready. I claim no credit for this. You can take it and run with it, just because I'd like to see this. I think it'd be fun. But I want scripted workout videos. I just don't mean like it's like you're working out, you're doing this thing. I want to be like watching a show that also incorporates a workout. So I don't want just someone up there being like, okay, now you do like 12 push-ups and like now you do this lunge. I want there to be like an action thriller, whatever it is, some sort of show that's scripted that has a plot, but then they weave in things that you do to be active, and you get a workout in while watching the scripted show. It's like one of these ideas that once I thought of it, I was like, how is this not a thing?
So you get to work out along with the movie.
Exactly.
So this is like the power pad. You remember from Nintendo?
Exactly like that. Yeah.
You have like a power pad to copy sort of what's going on in the video.
Mhm.
Based on the type of movie, that's how hard the workout is.
Yeah. And it's like if you're getting Pain and Gain and The Rock and Mark Wahlberg in it, like you better be an expert.
Yeah,
because they're gonna bring it.
There's gonna be some supersets during this one.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just like there were so many shots of people working out in this. I was like, why don't you work in? It's like, okay, now like you do this.
This would be incredible if you like own a gym. You're like Pain and Gain night, guys. Come in at 8:00. We have a 2-hour workout, and everyone's watching the movie, but also doing the workouts along.
Yeah. It's like so obvious. It's like people are always working out, and they're either watching a show or they're watching. They have all these apps now. Someone's showing you what to do. Combine them, best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's confusing. You're on the treadmill, and the guy's like bench pressing. Like that doesn't align with what I'm doing. This should be matching up with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun. Once again, I think you crush it. I can believe that doesn't exist because it's a hard idea to come up with. But now that you've said it, it's pretty obvious that it should.
I mean, like that.
Now on.
That has to be a thing in the near future. It just seems so obvious.
It can start with just TV shows too.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I don't even know. Yeah, this could go. This has legs.
And it's like people get hooked on these shows, right? Where you need to find out what happens. That's how you get hooked in some sort of exercise regimen, right? You're like, I got to find out what happens, so I got to like keep up my exercise routine.
You want to see what happens at the end of Game of Thrones? Get some swords. You got to practice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Mine was just, I wanted to see, I don't know if it has been a Rock in prison movie. So I thought during the 15 years, they could take some liberties. I know it's based on a true story and he was clean and loved his time in jail, but we got 15 years of The Rock in jail.
Mm-hmm.
They told us how he slipped up, with the wine in jail before. Maybe there was a couple years in there where he kind of ran the prison, got some coke, did all the things. And then he got so powerful, he was able to relax and be like religious leader of the prison by the end.
Oh yeah.
But he takes over the prison because they put a 300-pound madman in there for 15 years. Let's see what happens.
So yeah, that's a great pick. I would watch that 100%. We've been over this, but the Rock's character was so good, brilliant performance. Whatever we can do to get more of that character, and I think a prequel there is like the best way to do it. I just want more and more and more of that character because it was, like I said, it's his best performance, and he's been in a lot of great films.
Yeah, I can't say enough about that character because you're right. It's just like he's hilarious and he's weird and he's huge, and it's just you never know what he's going to say next or what he's capable of. I think it might be his best character too.
Yeah,
and you're a Fast and Furious
guy. I think it
is. That's a big pick.
Yeah, I'm a huge Fast and Furious guy. He's great in those films, but this one is better than all of those.
Beats Maui too.
It's his best. I mean, like I said, he's got an amazing IMDb page, but I think pound for pound, there's a lot of pounds. This is his best role.
I couldn't agree more. I don't have any. I usually have lots of notes at the end, but there was so much that I think we squeezed in. I really liked the fact that you could watch this movie and just enjoy all the 90s references with Star 6'9" and fanny packs and just starter jackets and LA gear. If you want to just watch this movie and enjoy, like, oh wow, I had one of those, I had all those things, and the cars and everything, the Scooby-Doo seats
Yep.
in that car. It was just like, it was a nice little tribute to the 90s.
Yeah, and we talked about how maybe this movie is going to climb in popularity. I think especially now, a lot of that 90s stuff is coming back, and a lot of the fashion, a lot of the music is popular now. So I don't see why this movie shouldn't be popular now. I think people want to see that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the only other thing, I guess we talked about notaries. I do like how notaries show up, because it's sort of like no one really knows what notaries do or why they exist. So it's always great when they can kind of poke a little fun at that in a film.
It's nice to see a notary abuse their privilege too.
Oh yeah, right.
It didn't take much.
Right. I also loved the signatures and the stamps were just like all over the page. You're just like, sure.
Sure.
Once you have that notary stamp, anything goes.
I think that's it. This is awesome. Do you know what we're doing next?
Yeah. Next, we are doing one of the more recent.
We're going to do a recent one, but not the most recent one of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. So we're going to do the 2013 Texas Chainsaw 3D with Alexandra Daddario as the main actress in that one, which I watched with my wife just about a month ago, and this movie is awesome, and I don't understand how it's so poorly rated.
I'm excited. I haven't seen this one. I've obviously seen the original a number of times. It's one of the all-time great horror movies. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
This is going to be great. All right, that was not painful, but a lot of fun was that.
Yeah, it was great as always.
All right, later.
Later.